Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Fired Up Friday with Miss D and Candidly Tiff. And we've got a lot to talk about today. But before we get into it, I told Tiff, I said, I got to get better at this. And that is, of course, thanking you guys for joining us here in our live, but also asking you to follow us on our socials because we are both very active on most of the social platforms. And you can find Candidly Tiff under that moniker on, tell them where they can find you, Tiff.
Find me on YouTube where I put this live afterwards after we have this, and then usually sometime I haven't done it in a while, but we usually have our Wednesday show on there as well with Too Raw to Real and This Activist, which is our Big Three show. You can find me on Twitter at Tiffy330, on Instagram candidly_Tiff, and that's the same name on YouTube as well. So all over the place.
Wonderful. Yeah, in all the places. And Tiff turns out some great content. She does a lot of videos, a lot more than I do. I am on all the social, well, I won't say all because I don't do Meta. I have my reasons, but you can find me on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on Spoutable, and Unspoutable. I'm very active there and here on Substack. I do a lot of writing and I enjoy that under Advocacy Arena, and on Spoutable under my first name, Desia, Desia. And I host our weekly Good Trouble chat that has been going on forever since we were over on the Hellscape, formerly known as Twitter. And I host that on Spoutable now. And so, join us and support us because neither of us are like getting paid for this, but it's nice to get support. And you can do paid subscriptions to both Tiff and I here on Substack. And if you read any of my Substacks, I also have all of the places where you can find me at the end because I've done some podcasts and things as well. And the links to those, to that work, you will find at the end of all of my Substacks. So please join us, support us. Thank you for being here today for what I know is going to be a great conversation. And who knows, Myron might pop in and join us because he joins us. Myron Clifton joins us frequently. But we're going to dive into it. And I just, again, like I said, want to thank you for joining us. Hit the hearts if you're on YouTube and Substack. That does help the algorithm because we want to bring more folks to the party and to the conversation. And as Tiff popped in, as we were getting ready to start, some hot news dropping, that we'll just open with that.
All right.
And I'll let her dig into the latest in the election news. So take it away, Tiff.
All right. Well, today I guess the DNC was meeting, and so they figured out the calendar for 2028 for the first couple of primaries, which is interesting information because, as we know, that's we're gonna start seeing people declare for their candidacies right after the midterms. That's guaranteed. It was gonna happen anyway, but based on the calendar, I think it's gonna happen a lot sooner than most people predicted. Most people usually is like December, January. I think we're gonna see it in sometime in earlier November, right after. So the first primary is going to be January 22nd, 2028. And that's going to be South Carolina. So South Carolina will be first. Black voters will get their say at the very beginning. Then you'll have Nevada, which is February 1st. So they're going in week order here. So the week after January 22nd, February 1st, we have Nevada, which is a different type of electorate. So you have more of a Latino electorate. There are Black voters in Nevada and a white electorate.
Strong union there too.
Very strong union. And then February 8th is New Hampshire. So we go back up top. Then we go back to the Southwest to New Mexico on February 15th, which is interesting. Then you have February 22nd is Michigan. So that's Midwest. Then February 29th, right before Super Tuesday, we have Virginia. Now, Virginia is a very interesting state because it is a very mixed electorate there. Sometimes trends a little purple-y in a weird state, but there are black voters, there's white voters, there's a mix of voters in that state. And then we have March 7th, which is Super Tuesday. So I think that's going to be a very interesting kind of map of where these folks are going to put all their attention. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of attention paid to South Carolina because they are going to be first, and that will kind of set the tone for the rest of the election, because who knows what's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to run, and this time next year we will be hot and heavy in presidential primary craziness. So prepare yourself because it's going to be a long, hey Dallas, it's going to be a very, very long year in 2027 of election craziness. And if it's anything like it is right now,
I feel like this is the preview. And this is going to, it's already crazy, and it's going to get crazier, and it's just going to continue building in that way up until we have that presidential election. Because let's start in on one of the topics, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on it because we know what time it is. Speaking about elections, since you and I talked last, the president had a primetime address claiming all the crazy stuff about elections. And you and I know what that was basically about, which was him starting to stir the pot for election interference, and calling foul or, crazy stuff wherever the results do not turn out the way that he wants.
Of course.
And I mean, none of us are surprised by it, but people need to understand the kind of importance of it, because basically I feel like that was him starting to send the dog whistle to all the crazy people who support that mess, and the extent that they're willing to go to push it, I think should be alarming to us. We already know what they did the last time.
Yeah, listen, it's not, I don't think anyone that has been paying attention, which I would hope that a lot of people are paying attention, that this president is going to cry foul no matter what. He tried it in California, but then he had to backtrack it, right? Because Steve Hilton ended up winning, who's a Republican. You got to give these states an opportunity to count these votes. Like, this is what this is his bread and butter of how he is going to try to spin stuff. We know that in certain states, it takes long. Listen, it took like 3 or 4 weeks here in Maryland to count all the votes. We had close elections. It was what it was. In Democratic primaries, in the Democratic state, you're going to have a lot of people who are going to vote. And sometimes these states cannot count as quickly. These counties, these cities cannot count as quickly because we have a lot of mail-in ballots, which is what he wants to use to say, oh, they're cheating. Meanwhile, a lot of people that are Republicans also vote by mail. So he's full of it because he knows that that's an easy way. And he's trying to push to get his SAVE Act passed, which is a disaster, all in all. And they even tied it to the NDAA, which is the military bill that
national defense.
To push it forward. But it's gonna fail. I mean, it's the way that they do these things are so suspect. We've watched kind of a lot of this stuff play out over the last couple of weeks with these votes and how they're trying to package things together to try, like we had this week, they had the trade stock bill the stock trading bill, that they were trying to tie to another bill, which they were like, what are you even doing? So of course, Democrats voted no on it. So stock trading is something that's the Democrats have been focused on, but that's what they're doing. And it's going to go to the Senate and it's going to fail and it's going to end up being unpackaged. And they're just wasting our time. So we're just watching a lot of corruption happening in DC. We don't know where Mitch McConnell is. We don't know if he's dead or alive.
We know where Lindsey is.
We know Lindsey is in hell right now. And he's gonna have his funeral next week. That was pretty shocking from the last time that we spoke. I don't think anyone, I don't know, no one
No,
thinks
we would have been,
so
yeah, we would have
we,
expected
yeah,
McConnell's
yeah,
news of McConnell.
we were wondering if McConnell was dead or alive, and then next thing you know, it's like, oh, Lindsey's dead. It's like, oh damn. So yeah, they're down a couple of votes in the Senate, and at this point, listen, anyone could die at any point. We all know that, but it's just very interesting that Joe Biden ended up, probably will end up outliving both of those men. But
Yes,
none.
and he should.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly. So it's just a lot happening in DC right now, and they're going back on recess again because they don't work. August recess is coming up, and these bills are just going to sit around and they're just going to linger, and we are going to see how Trump is going to spin all of this as we get closer to the election, because there's some people who believe there's going to be no election. I'm not one of those believers that we're not going to have an election. I think we're going to have an election. Or is there going to be election interference? Yes, of course. He's going to be an agitator. He's going to try to maybe call up the National Guard in places like Detroit, where there's going to be a hotly contested Senate race. He's going to call it up in Georgia because we already know he has a fixation on Georgia after he lost by 11,000 votes, which he thinks he truly won. But he's never going to give that up. So there are certain states, I do believe, Nevada's another one. In these swing states, Pennsylvania, I don't really know that he has any leg to stand on there. I think Josh Shapiro is going to win by a lot. But it's the Senate races where I think he's going to key in on, where there could be a potential. Maine is another one where there could be close races where he is going to cry if the Republican ends up losing.
Well, the good thing about that is, as you said, we do know that he is going to do that. What places and where, we can kind of guess.
It's predictable.
Exactly. And to that end, I am glad that the Democrats are trying to pregame that, so to speak, that they are actually having strategic.
Did you see that? Did you
I
see that
did.
was from Chuck Schumer? Yeah.
And I think the guy out of New York, Morrell, is the one. Joe Morrell is kind of leading this effort. It's with the House Administration Committee, and they are having meetings and gaming out all of the possible things that he could do and what their responses can be to stop it or to thwart it. So that makes me feel good that they are, not just talking about it, that they are being about it and actually making preparations for it, because it is going to happen. So that makes me feel good to know that they are actively meeting and thinking of all the ways in which he can try to interfere with these elections and coming up with strategies to stop that interference.
Yeah, no, I agree. I saw that video yesterday from Chuck Schumer. I didn't read the article, but I did see, like, so I didn't know all the details, so thank you for that. But I saw that he was saying that they were being proactive in the fact that they are looking at, like what they could do, kind of what will happen at the election, and then what could happen after the election. So I'm like, finally, I mean, you guys should have done that way before this, but
Yeah, they kind of should have done that with the Project 2025.
Yeah, there was opportunities, but no, but here we are. We're
Okay, never too late to
better late
learn.
than never. So I'm glad they are preparing. Yeah, I think we're just in for a long couple of months of watching this man who is destroying our country every which way. I mean, gas is back up. I mean, it's just that we're in a war. Seems like it's never going to end. But I think the one thing I think people are not thinking about, because a lot of people can't think past this year or 2027, but I think past this time frame and think of 2028, because we can and would end up in a very interesting situation and a scary one if Republicans end up keeping the House. Remember in 2024, well, sorry, when 2020, when 1/6 happened, Democrats were in charge of the House. So Nancy Pelosi was the speaker, she held the gavel. But if Mike Johnson holds the gavel and we get to 2028 and we have a winner that's a Democrat, right? A Democratic nominee wins the presidency, and Donald Trump is still the president like he was in 2021 on January 6th, and we have to certify that election. God knows what he is going to try to do to call into the craziness, right? Like I said, the difference was Nancy Pelosi was in charge of the House. And if Mike Johnson is in charge of the House, we don't know, even if the Democrat wins, we don't know what shenanigans they will try to pull to stop the presidency from being certified. So we have to be very cautious of that when we're thinking about who runs the House as we get, and this is, it doesn't matter if we win the House in 2028 back, we have to win the House back in 2026. And I don't think people are understanding how that works, right?
Right, connecting the dots.
I'm not so concerned about it on the Senate side, because they usually kind of stick to the book on the Senate side. The House, they go rogue. And there's a lot of people on that side who don't care about being corrupt. They don't care about anything else but winning. And if they lose, then they are going to try to find a way to win. And Gavin Newsom has warned about this. He warned about this before we had all this redistricting. And I did a video on this, and I need people to understand the significance of us holding and having the House after the 2028 election. We cannot lose in November.
Heed the warning, people. We tried to tell you the problem that we would have with the courts if Hillary didn't win. And look how that's played out. So every election matters. And just because you don't see things, connecting in real time, just believe people who follow politics and understand civics and pay attention and exercise your civic duty, do it now and not think that you can wait, like this election isn't important. It is really, really important. It's more important now than 28 is, because what happens, as you just explained here, can determine how things go for us in 28, even with wins. So
yeah, you can't, we have all, Dallas, you're getting on my nerves today. We have all witnessed how
Dallas is chatty.
She is in the movie because this little girl is running back and forth in front of my house with her on her scooter. So she's very annoying. And then she also wants her lettuce. But I just want people to realize like how we have to win in November. I don't think people understand the significance. You can scream establishment, APAC, all this all day long, but at the end of the day, we have to beat Republicans. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. And maybe you don't necessarily love the candidate that is going to be picked in the race, in whatever race it is that you are invested in. But if you don't take your ass and go vote in November, regardless, there are people that I'm going to have to vote for in November that I don't necessarily like, but I'm going to do it anyway, because guess what? We have to win. And if you don't see the risk of Republicans and what they could do or how they are going to go about it, then you are sadly mistaken and so naive and ignorant to how this country works, because this is a game of power, right? We have the Game of Thrones, it's a game of power.
You've lost the plot if you don't if you don't get that.
Exactly.
And these purity politics and things are not the way. Like we can have our druthers and our wishes, but we may not end up with people that we like. At the end of the day, we should be voting for harm reduction and for the best probability of us holding on to our democracy. Because if Democrats do not win, we will not maintain our democracy. You can be assured of that, and I think that some of these folks who are pushing, like all their ultimatums and, their um, kind of purity test, litmus test, some of them are calling it. It's fine to have that, but if you don't end up with it, you still need to vote and you need to encourage other people to vote because as we say, winning elections is about numbers. It's about
Exactly. It's all about
addition.
the math. It's
Okay.
math is the math. You cannot get around that. And I don't understand. One group is going to win more votes than the other, and that's how elections are decided. So however you want to spin it, I don't care. We have to outvote the other people. We lost in 2024 because they outvoted us. It's really not that complicated to understand if you understand math. And I just need people to focus on that. Listen, there's a lot of people who have their issues, right? So I was reading something. Listen, the Michigan race, let's talk about that really quick, is a hot ass mess. Okay. I'm just gonna say that it's a hot ass mess. Listening to people there, they're over it. I'm over it. I'm tired of hearing about it. But one thing that I'm starting to see, which I do not like, is that people are like, and it's kind of started in 2024, like it's started even before that, like we're gonna withhold our vote because we had the uncommitted movement, which was supposed to be about like trying to bring attention to, then we had like the never Kamala people. And then we're starting to see where people are like, well, I'm not voting for X person because they don't support me, or we don't like this person, and they're talking about they're withholding their votes. And I'm like, and it's not just leftists. This is not a leftist thing. Okay. There are other special interest groups out there who are going to do the same thing because they see it as a tool to be able to like get what they want out of it. And in some ways, I get it. Like we're seeing in Texas, Black voters are like, I don't know about this James Tallarico guy, and he did the right thing and he had a town hall, which he should have had. He should have done this 3 months ago. But
Too late,
here,
but
here we are. You need the Black vote to be able to win. So you're the same way that people are doing the work to win over Latino voters, union workers, yes, there's going to be, you need to win over every type of voter. So
right.
the purity test is expanding, and I don't like that. It's getting a little bit crazy.
It is, and people need to understand. Like I asked them to think about in the 1800s when Black men first got the right to vote. Okay, the number of people who were killed trying to exercise it, but a lot of them got the ability to vote and even put people in Congress during Reconstruction. But for the most part, do you think any of those people on the ballot were not racist? Didn't have, I mean, like truly, we have never had the luxury of having these perfect candidates.
There's no
For
such
us,
thing.
it's
There's no such thing as a perfect candidate. Listen, even in my own state, me and the gov, that's my guy. But even I disagree with him on some stuff. I mean, we are never going to have perfection. I think there's valid things that people are saying about some of these elections, the corruption, the amount of money that is being poured from outside groups into these elections is alarming. Yes, we should be concerned about this, because what I tell people and what I've been telling them the last couple of weeks is, yeah, you may not care that $50 million is being spent by outside groups in Michigan. That may not bother you because you don't care about the candidate that they are running the ads and sending mailers against. So you don't like that person. You're for the person that they're doing these ads for. But guess what? When 2028 comes and there's a candidate that you really, really like, and those same groups are running ads for another person that you do not like, you're going to feel how this whole situation works, because your person is going to be up against 50, 60, 70 million dollars, and your person may only have, $10 million to run ads. It becomes an outweighed thing. It becomes an unfair thing. And people need to recognize. So you may not care now, but you are going to care at some point, and you're not going to like it. And I don't want to hear people complaining about it. But I mean, listen, there's nothing that can really happen. But I do think that Democrats need to start having conversations about what it means to have outside groups investing in some of these races. And it's not $5 million, it's 50+ million. It is an outweighed thing. I mean, there's a scale here.
It's not pocket change, yes, and I think that they should have some campaign finance reform on their agenda in the horizon. Right now, I just need us to win, but that is definitely a problem, and
Yeah,
that
it's getting
problem.
worse. It's getting like, I don't think people realize this, Ms. D. In 2020, there was like three super PACs that really played in that race. One was for Joe Biden, which came in super late to help him because he was broke. Okay, he was getting his ass kicked, and Bernie had a lot of money, and they needed to figure out a way to help him to win, so they jumped in. Then we also had Elizabeth Warren at the very end. She had a super PAC, and I think Kamala was about to get a super PAC at the very end of her campaign, but then she decided she was going to drop out. I mean, there was another candidate, and then of course Tom Steyer had his gigantic millions of dollars. So we didn't really have super PACs playing in a presidential primary. Where we started seeing super PACs come into play was in 2022. That's when we really started seeing a lot of these special interest groups form. So UDP, which is APAC, formed their super PAC. We also have started to see, the crypto folks and the AI folks are now playing in this game. And we're starting to see a lot more special here. We had real estate folks form a super PAC. So you're going to start seeing a lot of these groups start forming and banding together to try to influence our elections. It's not, 2028 is going to be a disaster when it comes to super PAC money and how we handle it. I don't know how we get our hands around it, but again, folks are not thinking about the future. They're only thinking about now. I think about stuff way, way, way down the line. And I'm ready.
And we have to keep both of those things in mind. And we can't solve it instantly, but it certainly is a problem that we need to look at and keep letting the Democratic Party know that it is something that they should look at addressing in some way. But I also understand that, like, we cannot unilaterally disarm
Right.
because Republicans are using this. So we have to. Money is just, it's always been in politics, but it's at an obscene level
It's
now.
disgusting. It's at a
Yeah.
disgusting level. And
Mhm.
the thing is, what we're seeing is that more, like, of course, when we get to the general election, listen, we're it's us against, super PACs versus super PACs. Like, we're gonna go hard against each other. My issue is really more so in the primaries, where I've seen this happen, where there's like an outsized number being poured into races for one candidate versus the rest of the candidates. And people could say, well, the other candidates should get their own super PACs, or they have super PACs, they're just not investing. I'm sorry, but we're not even close to understanding the impacts of what 50 million. I'm sure people that are in Michigan right now, people who have lived in districts where they're throwing all this money, they are seeing it, they're feeling it, because I know I did. I felt it with those, like, every day I
And
would go to my freaking mailbox and there would be like 20 different flyers. The TV, it's like nonstop. You go on YouTube, it's nonstop. So until you have been in one of those races where they are spending all that money, you have no idea how bad it is and how messy it is. And it is going to be horrible in 2028. I'm just warning y'all.
yeah, it definitely is. So let's move into a few other topics. One that is related um, regionally to me, but I think it foreshadows probably um, something that will become problematic in other states, because we like to lead the nation not in good things, but in
Mhm.
the crazy fascist stuff. So I don't know if you heard the story of, I talked about it a little bit. Our fascist legislature, which we have a GOP trifecta here, they passed legislation this session, a Charlie Kirk something Memorial Act, Okay. It really has no real teeth. It was just another way of them. They wanted to make an official state holiday. That didn't go, thank goodness. But it is a way of further weaving Christian nationalism into our state. And it was kind of around education, opening them up to the permission to teach certain topics, with a Christian nationalist view without having, any, real pushback. Now it has no regimented demands like a curriculum or those things. It's just kind of permission saying you can do it if you want to. This is mainly in those charter schools and things like that, which they were already going to do. But they are also doing things that takes us back in history, and we understand the lasting legacy that these things can have. They try to throw up a marker. We have a highway here. It's called Vietnam Veterans Boulevard, dedicated to the memory of people from our hometown who died during the Vietnam War. And there are 12 men who are on that. And they try to stick a plaque up, a marker, huge, not just a little plaque, huge highway, because this is kind of like a intermediary interstate freeway. And at the beginning of it, they tried to stick up a one for Charlie Kirk. And the veterans in my home county lost their mind. Many of them were Republicans. And that is the reason why it is now being taken down. But just the disgusting act of them thinking that it was okay to stick that marker up for a man who never served in anybody's military. It's so divisive. And while they want to say he encouraged freedom of speech, I don't consider him even a patriotic person. He spewed hateful rhetoric. And so I was livid by that. And so they took it down from there. And one of the lawmakers from my home county actually said, pretty much, I'm kind of paraphrasing, that because he knew many of those people, those veterans, were supportive of Charlie Kirk and his ideology, that he was willing to hear them, listen to them, and to move it. But if they hadn't been,
audacity, it's just the audacity to even put the two together and think that Charlie Kirk is even remotely close to veterans and people who served in the military.
it's insane.
Like, what do we even do? Like, it's just
what, because the Vietnam War veterans they are not like veterans of today. Like, those men came back to people spitting on them,
right,
ignoring them. And these memorial markers and monuments and things that they have is a way of kind of taking back some of that history and to change it. It wasn't until the Iraq War that people actually started hearing people say, thank you for your service. Vietnam vets didn't get that.
right.
They got spat on and called baby killers, all kinds of stuff. And I have many family members who are veterans, Vietnam vets.
Yeah, my uncle was too. My great uncle, and oh my God, from what my family tells me, like, and I'm sure same for you, is that they never were the same people. Like, from going to coming back, like the things that they witnessed, the things that they saw, things that they had to do, they were never the same. So there is no reason why Charlie Kirk should even be mentioned in the same vein as these people.
Yeah, and it just really disgusts me because, like, one of the markers on there, I knew this person personally, like, a wonderful guy, and my neighbor was his fiance. I still remember, I wrote a Substack about it because I was just so livid and I needed to get some of it out. But when we learned of his death, I still can remember the screams coming from next door, how heartbroken we all were, because she was pregnant
Oh,
at
wow.
the time, yes, and, still think about his son, and we were blessed to see him grow up and to have a son, but, like I said, his life was cut short, and, um, my uncle, who is probably the person that I, attribute to my reason for joining the military, who I really looked up to, won a Bronze Star for saving his platoon during that war. And to have them try to denigrate that space and those people with this guy, oh my God.
Why couldn't they just pick some random road in the middle of nowhere? Like no one. I mean,
Yeah, well, he don't even deserve to be on the road because
well, I
in
agree
my
with that. I'm just, but I mean, like, pick a dirt road
exactly,
somewhere and just call it Charlie Kirk Road. Like, no one cares. Like, if,
exactly.
but like, I don't know. It's just so stupid. It's just a disrespect. I think that's what it comes down to. Just the fact that they have no respect for people living or dead, and they just don't care. And what did Charlie Kirk really do? I mean, come on. He was a person
That's
who went to college campuses, and he was a provocateur, a bigot. And what did he
and
really
died a horrible
accomplish?
death. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean, it
yeah.
was a horrible death, but that there are people who die horrible deaths every single.
All the time. I think about this young man, Nolan Wells. I mean, we countless numbers of Black people, recently and in our historical past. But I see them doing with Charlie Kirk because he's so familiar to a lot of young people and has had such a huge following. It's another way of a modern day type of Confederate statute. Like they're trying to embed him in our memory and our history as a good person
Right.
doing good work. That Christian nationalist lost cause rewriting whitewashing of history, and it's very subtle and disgusting, but that is what they're trying to do. That is the depth of what they're trying to do, and people need to recognize that. And like I said, I just want them to know this is what's happening in Tennessee, and you can look for it, to happen in other places where they have these kind of GOP trifectas, because Marco Rubio and Miller and Bassett, I didn't put that on our list, but they had a whole summit up there in DC, brought 60 other countries over, designating these far left extremists as terrorists. Okay. Crazy. And trying to say how much energy they were putting into these designations. And I don't think it got a lot of press, but there were people who were arrested outside of ICE facilities in Texas some months ago who were charged with terrorism and designated Antifa. That is very, very dangerous. And for our Secretary of State to be pushing this and doubling down on it puts us again, I think, in further danger. And states that kind of authoritarian um, leaning that they have, and the direction that they're trying to push us in, because it's a way of squashing dissent and punishing people who don't agree with their ideology. And I mean, it's crazy, but it's happening in a lot of different ways, and people need to be aware of that. It just kind of goes back to the Christian nationalist agenda of Project 2025, which we all warned folks about.
Yes, we did. Well, you definitely did, even from the beginning, because you were the first person that I ever heard talk about it. That was long before it was even a popular thing. Like, worry about this. This is coming, and it's here. I mean, we are living through it. I mean, what we have seen our Food and Drug Administration be destroyed. I mean, I see people asking, like, what can we eat now? Like the eggs, the salad will make you poop. Like there's like a whole lot of things that are just happening. And when you have people that are incompetent who are running these cabinet positions and these departments, this is what you're going to get. There was a report yesterday that Trump and Miller are not happy with Mark Wayne Mullen, who who is now running DHS. They're trying to get the guy for the DOJ. I cannot think of his name. Todd Blanche. They're trying to get him confirmed. He's having a hard time because these people have set themselves up in a way that they are so incompetent and so part of this cult. And so are many of the people in the Congress, but there are some people like a Susan Collins, who's always concerned and is up for re-election, that is also like on the fence about some of these folks. You have people who are leaving. Tom Tillis, who's like, yeah, I don't know about this guy, and this is what they should have done from the beginning. Shouldn't have to take you to be up for re-election or getting out the Congress for you to then decide that you want to have a moral compass. These people are not qualified for these jobs. There is no reason why RFK should be running any department other than the Department of, I'm not even gonna say it. He needs to go away. He is not a good person. He is not a person who is competent enough to run a department. He is a former drug addict who needs to go focus on his life and get himself a cheater, all those things he's not a good person. End the story. And he is definitely not qualified for that role, and has destroyed and dismantled many of the departments that we rely on to survive and live. We need food to survive. Hello, people.
Exactly. And this is, again, goes back to Project 2025. And one of their main goals was deregulation. We're seeing it in the Food and Drug Administration, but also in the scientific arena as well. They don't care, and they are moved by money and people agreeing with their ideology of hatred. Because when that report came out on the Taylor farms being problematic, I understand that they went to some folks in the administration with a big bag of money, and then the next day or a few days later, they kind of walked it back and said it was a false positive. I don't believe anything that is coming out of this administration because of, like you said, the kind of people that we have at the helm. And also, they never really, their goal wasn't to keep the government running. It really was to destroy the government and to create an infrastructure, a power structure that was centered around the president, basically an authoritarian, a dictator, and all the people in place are loyalists. That's why those people who are now looking to be confirmed in these various positions cannot admit the truth, cannot even simply say he lost an election that was held 6 years ago.
How insane was that hearing? I gotta give those John Ossoff his props.
Yes,
he was the one who was pressing him. There was others that were doing it as well. But what are we doing? Like, what? Even the other day that I was watching it, it was Pete Hegseth, that dumb, where John Ossoff was pressing him. Even Gary Peters got upset, which he never is, usually keeps his composure. But these people are so incompetent that you just can't even understand, like, how do we get here? But it's because of the Senate. I mean, again, this is why we need a majority. We need those gavels. People can say all they want. Gavels matter. They matter. Who runs hearings, who can be the people that are in charge of those hearings when they happen. That is because of gavels. And so what we saw this week and last week with these hearings is that these people can't, like, this guy couldn't even just say that Trump lost. Like, he couldn't say it because he wants the job and he knows that he has to be a sycophant for this president, which is sad.
It is. And speaking of hearings, like the kind of things that, they are wasting our money and congressional time on. Like, have you seen any clips of the hearing or watched the hearing on DEI, where they literally drug medical schools and schools that, churn out a lot of attorneys on the red carpet, bashing them with not complying with the changes to DEI programs and things. So not only are they like destroying and and firing real scientists and organizations that help us stay healthy and alive. They are destroying the future talent for those things by placing these crazy you know, regulations and rules on the schools on what they can do and teach and who they can allow in. I mean, and so they are starting to beat the DEI drums again. It's just
Well,
crazy.
we're gonna get there. As soon as we get closer to an election, the three-letter words start coming in DEI. We're gonna get CRT again. What's the other ones that we got? Well, now they're obsessed with socialism and communism, which none of it is even applicable in these to anything that we're talking about. I mean, you have democratic socialists, which is
That is what that summit was a big focus of the summit, that Marco
yeah.
Rubio and Besant, you know, fighting Marxism and terrorism or something like
Yeah,
that. But that
Antifa.
was,
And they're obsessed with it. They're obsessed with Antifa because
yeah, an organization that doesn't have a headquarters.
yeah, no headquarters. I've never even met anybody who is part of Antifa or had anything to do with Antifa. So I've just been saying that we are in silly season. Like, we're really in silly season where we just have people just saying whatever. And I laughed yesterday because I saw AOC. They were like following her all over DC yesterday. And she was, they asked her a question about, communism, and she made a valid point. She said, Republicans, they didn't say that. They said Joe Biden was a communist. Okay, they called him a socialist. Like, even like you, like, regardless of who it is, Hillary was a socialist. She was gonna put in Sharia law. I mean, there's all this stuff has been going on for, like, I don't know how many years of them. They always latch on to some kind of thing, and they become obsessed with it. Defund the police, whatever it is. So this year it's going to be communism and socialism. But I liked what AOC said. She said that I don't care what the belief police say. And I'm like, you know what? That's actually kind of clever. Like, they are, because it's not even a real thing. It's a belief in what they think is happening with the Democrats. They don't even understand. First of all, Democrats don't even understand what's happening with Democrats at this point, which is also part of the problem too, because we have all these different factions. We have, the people who are normie Dems. You have the people who are liberals. You have the people who are progressive. You have the people who are DSA. I can't take it anymore. I'm so sick of labels. Like, we've been talking about this for like over a year. I can't stand the labels. I'm over it.
I know.
Everything is crazy. Just pick somebody and let's move on to the general election. I'm tired.
Yeah, let's focus on holding on to a democracy. I'm not saying keep things the way they were, but at least have a democracy so that we can improve things and make things better. But if we mess around and because of purity, ideology or whatever, lose again, it's going to be a long climb out of it. I'm not saying we will never recover. I mean, Germany did, but how many years did they go through, and what kinds of horrific things did they experience? Hungary did, but it took them 20 years to get rid of Viktor Orban.
Once they get there, like I said, once they get there, it's really hard to get them out, right? So the goal is to keep them out. We already have Trump in there. We have elections. Let's just get these people. We can fight about this in 2028. We can fight over what this party is going to. We will know how the trajectory of this party is going to go in 27 and 28 when we start going through presidential primaries, and we have, like, not even the actual primary date, but we have like the lead up to the primary. We have debates. We're going to debate over a million things: corruption, what they want to do, policies, plans, whatever you want to call them. They're going to have a lot of things that we're going to go through. But if your idea of I hate democratic socialism and I hate progressives because of Mamdani, you're not really going to sell that to anybody. Because from what people can see, even my grandma, who's 83 years old, she's like, I like that Mamdani guy. I hope. And my grandma watches MSNBC all day. She's obsessed with, she's like all up in the Dems, like, mess. She's hilarious. But she even, like, people, like, even she likes, because people just want things to get fix. That's all they
Right.
they don't
They
care.
don't care what banner you are waving, you know.
Whatever flag you're waving, you listen. As long as you're not waving terrorist flag, that's all they care. They don't care about all. They just want to know, what are you going to do to help me? And that's the bottom line on all of this, right? What are you going to do to help me make my life better? And
That's it.
and people, that is where the majority of people, if you look at all the polling, the top issue is the economy. So unless you're going to tell me how you can't tell me how you're going to fix this economy, you don't have plans to make this work better. I don't care about all this other label, this, that, all this stuff. I want people who are going to go and do the job. We have a problem, Houston, and we need to get these Republicans out. So miss me with all that. If you're going to fight against Republicans, I'm all for you. If you don't like the Democrats, listen, at this point, I don't really care who you like. I just go.
Just need you to vote and to
I just
vote.
need you to get these people to get out and vote and do what they need to do so that we can win these elections. I get it. I get that there are people you're never going to like, you're never going to agree with. It's that they made a whole big thing this week, with with Benjamin Netanyahu, who will be here next week. And Mamdani was basically saying, in his campaign, he promised that he was going to arrest him. Anyone with a brain should have known that that was never going to happen, if you understand how laws work. And people so then he did that video, and I actually thought the video was pretty good. I'm not even gonna lie, I thought it was a good video. A lot of people disagreed with it. They didn't like it. They're mad. He should never listen. Every politician makes promises that they do not keep. Let's be real. I have never met one.
Mandami is the mayor of one city, a
Exactly.
large one, granted, but
Right.
one city.
And whether he arrested Benjamin Netanyahu or not, really had no bearing on my life. Like I said, this had nothing to do with me, and I knew he couldn't do it. I think most people knew he couldn't do it, but I'm glad that he actually made the video and was like, listen, I can't do it. And I'm like, okay, because if you send a press release, then people will start talking, right? So you send the video, which I want Dems to do more. I need you to, when you're explaining you're losing, I get it. But sometimes you just have to show, listen, I can't do this, and here's the reason why. Let's lay it out and call it, and we move on. Because people
tell the truth.
This is how people communicate nowadays. People don't communicate good with people who are watching, outside people, not politicals, but people who are just watching politics unfold. They like videos. They like 2 to 3 minute videos. They like to be able, even shorter than that, to be able to understand how things work. They don't want statements in a press release. They don't even read. Let's be real. They cannot.
At mainstream media,
a lot of y'all cannot comprehend when there is a written statement. You need to get in front of the camera, and you need to be able to talk through what it is you're trying to convey to people. From a communication standpoint, he did what he needed to do. You don't have to like him. I don't really care if you like him. I like him. I think he's doing a good job. There's going to be a day he's going to piss me off. He's going to say something I like, because every politician pisses me off at some point, even the ones that I like.
Because they're human. They are, men and women, who are fallible. And we need to understand that, and not trying to fall in love and worship our politicians.
Yeah, we're not getting married to them. I don't need to be with you forever. You can get voted out in a couple of years. You can get reelected in a couple of years. People, listen.
We just need you to do the work. And speaking of doing the work, like these organizations, I just learned of something this week, which I think a lot of kind of progressives, again, I hate the label, but I think some DSA adjacent kind of folks are doing. And this, I applaud them on. There is an initiative called the 1,000 Miles to Memphis or something like that, but it's a walk. It's 36 hours, and they're starting in Nashville. They're going from Nashville to Alabama, back up to Memphis. And the goal is to register 100,000 voters. I can get behind that.
Me too.
You're not just marching and being performative. You are doing something that matters and has lasting effects. Go.
Right. And that's the thing that's why I can't ascribe to all of this foolishness, Because listen, there are people who I think do good work and that are progressive. Justin
Mhm.
J. Pearson is one of those people.
Yeah.
Right? His motivations for wanting to do stuff, you have to look at the total package of people.
Mhm.
You can't just base it on a label and just be like, oh, I don't like that person because they're Justice Democrats or because they're DSA or whatever it is. You got to kind of look at the whole totality of who they are and what they have done and the whole resume and the whole shebang. Like even here, there's things that I don't like. Like people here complain about fees and all this stuff, but guess what? We're not living in hell. Okay, we're not living in hell. We still
You're
have
getting something for your
we get,
fees.
yes, and we actually have roads that can be driven on. We can fight about the data centers, whether we should have them, whether we these are valid policy issues. But
Mhm.
just to hate somebody just to hate them is not okay in my book. You can just because you don't like their label does not mean that you shouldn't look at everything that they're doing and you can give credit because I believe in fairness. If you I will give credit where credit is due. The day you do something that I don't like, yeah, I will have a critique on your that doesn't mean I'm not gonna like you anymore.
Exactly. I don't have to agree with everything you
Right.
say and do to like you. Like
Exactly. I can also like you as a person and not like you as a politician. Those
exactly.
two things can actually be separated. There are people that I like that are politicians that I'm like, I don't like that person as a regular person. Like I would never want anything to do with that person, or vice versa. I think they're a terrible politician, but
They're
I
a nice person.
but they're a nice person. So and we live in a society where there has to be nuance, and
Mhm.
people are lacking that because they want to stick their hand in the sand and be like, no, I don't like that person, and I'm never gonna like their person. And I just don't operate from. I know you don't either from that perspective. Like that's just not who I am. I am going to see the good and sometimes the bad in people, and I will take all of that and put it together and say, yeah. So even like with Michigan, like the El Sayed guy, there I don't like him. He's this Bernie and I don't care. I don't have to like him. I don't have to like Haley Stevens either. I just need one of y'all to win so y'all can whoop Mike Rogers' ass. Okay, that's all I need.
Exactly.
We don't
Exactly.
have to be besties. We don't even have to. I don't never have to see you. I don't really like Alyssa Slotkin, but she won and she's doing her job. She has taken votes that I definitely do not like, especially with some of these confirmations that have gone through. But she's still a Democrat. I don't care about all of this. I just want to win, goddammit.
Exactly, exactly. And, like some of these people should never be put in the mix to begin with. We need to be busy doing the vetting beforehand or whatever, i.e., Fetterman, which means y'all need to listen to Black women because we try to tell y'all, and it looks like Fetterman is about to leave the party now.
Like at this point,
Bye,
and that's
Felicia.
exactly like at this point, like how many days, how many times did I go through all of this stuff about
Oh my
Fetterman?
God, the
I was
videos.
I spent like most my 2022, I don't know. I probably did over 100 and something videos about Fetterman alone and why I could not stand him and what was y'all didn't listen. So part of me sometimes is like, you know what? I ain't saying nothing. I think I told Soul Sister this yesterday. I said, I see everything that's going on, but sometimes you just gotta know to shut up and just not say anything. Because guess what? People are gonna do whatever they want to do. Ain't nobody in Michigan listening to me. I have nothing to do with Michigan. So whether I like Haley or I like Abdul, it doesn't mean anything to anyone outside.
Yeah, you don't have a vote. The people there have a vote. It's kind of like the Tellerico thing. Like we can opine on it or whatever, but at the end of the day, I get to vote in Tennessee, you get to vote in Maryland. So Sister Thank God gets to vote in Michigan,
No,
so
and she's going through it because she's like, I can't
yeah,
wait for this to be over. And I
I
don't
know.
blame her. I want it to be over. My whole entire Twitter timeline is about this race, the same way it was when it was in New York. And
Mm,
I that was like we all have our own kind of races that we are focused on. I focused on my race for my own district. It didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, but it's okay. Life will go on. But it just feels like we just spend so much time fighting with one another that it's to the point that I don't even want to tweet anymore or make messages. Like I haven't made a video about anything of substance because I am over it. I'm tired of talking about Trump. And I mean, I'll make posts about it, but at the end of the day, like nothing is going to change because Trump, he's going to do whatever he wants. I don't know how many more of our soldiers have to die. I don't know how many more of our bases have to get destroyed. The media is getting blacked out on this war. Like there is so much that we are not knowing about what is happening. And we are all suffering the consequences in our pockets because of this war.
Exactly. And us not knowing is going to come back to bite them and us as a nation, because I was just looking before we got on. They have taken off, I think, 4 names of the number of people who have died because they were killed during a quote unquote ceasefire. Are you insane? Uh, like this war is not over, man. And these people were killed because of that war. We don't care whether you include them in this number or that number. They are part of the number of deaths that have occurred because of the Iran war. Y'all can try to spin it any way you want, but I guarantee you their family members, their survivors understand that they died because of a war of choice that you started with Iran. And they can try to cover up, hide, shade the numbers all they want. That will be impossible for them to maintain, because at the end of the day, these service members have loved ones who are not going to keep their mouth shut about it.
Yeah, after a certain time, you're like, I can't imagine that. I mean, like I said, I don't have anyone directly in my family like right now that's active in the military, but after a certain time, if you don't hear from somebody for a couple of months, you're going to start saying, where's my loved one? What is happening? Where are they? You know that they've been stationed over in the Middle East. What is going on? There's people that are injured. I think it was the New York Times or the Washington Post that put out that article that there's over 100 people of our soldiers, it may not even be soldiers, but people that work on these bases who have been injured. We're not getting these reports.
Right. And they will not be able to hide it, because those people will need care, and they are going to, they're going to talk about it. They will tell the truth about how they got injured, and they will not be able to sustain hiding this blackout of information. I know he's trying to take New York Times to task, but it seems like that got turned around on them, and they had to backpedal because the New York Times reported on that stupid Qatari jet that he had not being equipped with command and control. Like how can you fly that plane into a war zone area and not have that capability? Like how stupid do you have to be?
We still haven't even so remember a couple of months ago when the F bomber, whatever, I forget the name, the number, F-15 or whatever it was, that crashed in Iran. We have never heard from the people that were in that crash. A lot of things about this war do not make any sense to anyone that has common sense.
Right. And people will get angry because, like I said, even people who support you will start to get angry at you if you try to deny the harm and the deaths of those people. They are not going to let you cover that up. You can try, but eventually it will come out. So that's one thing I know that they will not be successful at. And the more that they try to hide it and to rewrite it, the more harm they are actually doing, I think, to their cause with people that may be in support of them. But we're going to see where it leads.
We will see. I don't know. It's a hot mess. Everything is a mess. And I just don't see how we're going to get out. They said he's antsy to get out the war. Okay, well he could shut it down today. He would have to admit that he lost the war, but he's gonna have to shut it down. It's costing a lot of money. People want 87 million dollars.
And like I said, eventually we're running out of actual equipment. Like there is not an endless supply of the equipment and or the manpower resources either. Fortunately, we're not losing a lot of those, but I just believe, hey, I'm glad you popped in, Captain America, going to troll some maggots. But I just love that, you know, we can continue to have these conversations in places, I think, that do resonate. You know, we may not have huge platforms, but I think our voices matter. I think they break through in many places and in our communities. And that is why, you know, I'm glad we've been doing this for now a year. And we were doing it before then. And I do think that it matters. And I think that people get things from it, and that it's like a ripple effect. They take it to other places. I have people all the time telling us how much they enjoy our conversations, how much they learn. So it matters. And we appreciate you guys showing up for us and joining us in the chat. And as we start to kind of wind down here, I just wanted, give you an opportunity. If there's anything we didn't cover that you want to just, talk about a bit, get in here.
Yeah, nothing. I think we covered every single thing that I had on my mind over the last couple of weeks. The only thing I would say, if you guys want to check it out, so remember I did that panel that was with the Maryland Democratic Party. So they posted a video of like a clip of it yesterday.
The link, will you?
Yeah, and so there's on YouTube, the whole conversation that we had with myself, Josh, as well as Isaiah Martin and Elizabeth Booker. So we had a really good conversation. So you guys should I'll link it to my video when I post it on YouTube, and I'll send it to you as well, Misty. I think it's a really good conversation. I think you guys would really like that conversation because we talked about a lot of issues and they asked really good questions. So I hope you guys take a look at it. But it was a really productive, I think, conversation from the four of us.
I definitely will. I'm looking forward to, to seeing that. And I know you and Isaiah both really smart, so I'm sure the other people were too. So I can't wait.
Everybody's super smart. I think we all have different perspectives about how we move forward. But at the end of the day, it all came back to the same thing. We got to beat Republicans. End of story.
Exactly. And that's the good thing. Like I don't think we should all have the same kind of, like we would be robots if we all thought and moved the same way.
Robots. That's my favorite thing to say.
Yeah. But I think it's important that we can come with different perspectives, different lived experiences and ideas and have a conversation, like not screaming at each other or talking over each other, but literally having a conversation. And that is one of the things I've always enjoyed with conversing with you. Like there are things that we haven't always necessarily seen in the same way or agreed on, but we have these conversations. And I think that's important because I really think that, that is America. That is our country. Like it's a big melting pot. We don't all think the same or feel the same, but we all live in this country, and we want it to succeed and be good. It'd be good for us.
Yeah, we all thought the same life would be really, really boring. We would literally be robots. And there's also, like you said, my perspective and your perspective. We come from different generations. We live in different places. So you help me to understand stuff. I help you to understand stuff. And that's how it should be. It shouldn't be, I am, like I said, hand in the sand, red line. This is how it's going to be. And there's no way
my way or the highway.
We agree on 90% of things. That's amazing. The 10% we could work out. Okay. Yeah. And we should be able to walk away and be like, you know what? We don't agree with that. And that's okay. That's fine. Life goes on.
Exactly. So I think that's a good note to end on. I just want to thank everyone who has joined us in the various places. I see folks from Twitter. I've seen folks from YouTube and Substack, and we really appreciate you guys supporting Tiff and I. So follow us on the socials, help to amplify our work, and by all means, join us back again in a couple of weeks for Fried Up Fridays, because you know there is going to be some mess
Always.
for us to talk about. So
Right.
stay tuned, and we will see you again in 2 weeks. Until then, take care. Peace and blessings, everyone.